The Galactic Empire's arrival was unlike anything Earth had ever seen. What started as faint signals in deep space soon became a looming presence on every radar screen across the globe. Governments scrambled for answers, but there was no mistaking the reality: an alien fleet, vast and unimaginable, was approaching Earth. Panic spread across the world, from quiet towns to bustling cities, as people began to wonder what fate awaited them. The fleet was led by a species whose name Earth would come to fear, but for now, they were nameless invaders. Stories of their conquests stretched across the galaxy, worlds reduced to ash, civilizations crushed beneath their technological superiority. They were known for their ruthlessness, taking what they wanted and leaving nothing behind. Earth was a backwater planet in their eyes, another trivial conquest to add to their collection. The first communication was cold, efficient, and devoid of emotion. A massive hologram broadcast over every network, showing a figure that looked barely organic, with features more machine than flesh. The voice echoed through every corner of the planet: "People of Earth, you are now under the jurisdiction of the Galactic Empire. Surrender immediately, and your extinction may be avoided." On Earth, the response was immediate, but not the one the Empire expected. While some among the human leadership debated compliance or submission, fearing the inevitable destruction the Empire could bring, others knew better. They knew the history of invaders, the unyielding nature of conquerors. Surrendering would only delay the inevitable. In underground bunkers and strategic command centers, world leaders connected, the air tense with the weight of the moment. Earth had faced wars, global disasters, and near collapse, but nothing like this. Still, a decision had to be made. After hours of deliberation, it became clear: Earth would not go quietly. The representative chosen to speak on behalf of Earth was a figure known for their steadiness in crises. A military leader hardened by years of service, yet wise enough to know that this would not be a typical war. This was about survival, about standing tall against a force that considered them insignificant. As the galactic emissary hovered above the planet in their massive warship, the response from Earth was simple. The human leader's voice, calm but unwavering, broadcast to the Empire's fleet: "We are the people of Earth, and we do not surrender. If you continue, you will face resistance." There was silence from the Empire, a brief pause that echoed in the minds of every human listening. Could it really be that simple? Could defiance in the face of such overwhelming power actually change their fate? The quiet was broken as the Empire's emissary responded with contempt: "Your defiance is noted. We will demonstrate the futility of your resistance." The first wave of the Empire's forces descended upon Earth in an almost casual show of power. Small craft, designed to test Earth's defenses, pierced the atmosphere, their sleek designs shimmering against the blue skies. They expected little resistance, assuming Earth's primitive technology would crumble at their feet. But the humans were ready. Defensive systems, cobbled together with the ingenuity Earth was known for, sprang into action. Anti-aircraft weaponry and hastily developed electromagnetic pulses lit up the skies. Though outgunned and technologically outmatched, the first few ships fell, crashing into the Earth's surface in plumes of smoke and fire. The people of Earth watched in awe. Against all odds, they had drawn first blood. For the Galactic Empire, this was nothing more than a minor inconvenience, but for Earth, it was a symbol. A symbol that they could stand up to the most powerful force in the galaxy. What followed next would be harder, fiercer, but in that moment, the seed of resistance had been planted. The response from the Galactic Empire was swift and brutal. Within hours of the human defiance, a second transmission echoed through the skies. This time, there was no pretense of diplomacy, only raw, unfiltered contempt. "Your defiance is meaningless. You will bow, or you will burn. The outcome is inevitable." But Earth remained steadfast. The initial victory, small as it was, had ignited something in the hearts of people worldwide. The resolve to fight, no matter how impossible the odds, spread like wildfire. Cities fortified, militaries mobilized, and every civilian prepared for the worst. From underground bunkers to command centers high in the mountains, Earth was unified in its stand. In the Galactic Empire's grand warship, the Emissary, brimming with arrogance, authorized a larger assault. Their disdain for humanity was palpable. After all, the Empire had crushed far more advanced civilizations than Earth with ease. In their eyes, Earth was a backwater planet, primitive and insignificant. This defiance was nothing more than a temporary annoyance. Earth's leaders knew the stakes had risen. They had seen the Empire's power firsthand, and they understood what was coming. In a somber meeting, the decision was made: Earth would fight with everything it had. This wasn't just about survival. It was about sending a message: Earth was not to be underestimated. The preparations were grim, but determined. Strategic points across the planet became fortresses. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, devising countermeasures against the Empire's superior technology. Hackers began infiltrating the Empire's networks, searching for any weakness that could be exploited. Human ingenuity, so often underestimated by outsiders, was now Earth's greatest weapon. The next wave of the Empire's forces arrived, more substantial than before. Hundreds of sleek, black ships entered Earth's atmosphere, their engines humming with an alien menace. The attack was not meant to destroy, it was a demonstration, a show of force designed to break humanity's spirit. But the humans had learned from their first encounter. They weren't going to engage the Empire head-on with conventional warfare, they couldn't. Instead, they employed tactics the Empire didn't expect. Guerrilla warfare in the skies and on the ground. Coordinated strikes that targeted the Empire's supply lines and command ships. Earth's forces fought smart, using the terrain to their advantage and avoiding direct confrontation where possible. In one of the early engagements, a small human squadron, flying retrofitted spacecraft, managed to cripple a significant Imperial cruiser. It was a miracle of strategy and timing, but it showed the Empire something they hadn't considered before: Earth was unpredictable. With each passing day, the Empire grew more frustrated. Their leaders, once so confident, now questioned the ease of this conquest. How could a species so technologically inferior cause so much trouble? Their war machine had never encountered resistance like this, not from a planet as small and inconsequential as Earth. On the ground, civilians organized into resistance groups, helping military forces where they could. Engineers turned scrap into weaponry, and medics set up makeshift hospitals to tend to the wounded. This was no longer just a military campaign, it was the entire planet fighting for its survival. Meanwhile, Earth's leaders refused to back down. Every broadcast from the Galactic Empire was met with the same defiance. "We will not surrender," the human spokesperson declared in response to the Empire's increasingly threatening messages. "If you want Earth, you will have to take it from us, piece by piece." The Empire, accustomed to quick victories and the subjugation of entire star systems, was beginning to realize that this would not be an easy conquest. For the first time in millennia, they were facing an enemy they could not predict, could not easily dominate. The humans had become more than just another target. They had become a problem. And problems, as the Empire was beginning to understand, had a way of spiraling out of control. The Galactic Empire had always relied on one principle: their overwhelming power was enough to crush any resistance. They had expected humanity to be no different. But each new encounter with Earth's defenses chipped away at that certainty. What should have been a swift and decisive conquest had turned into a series of frustrating setbacks. The humans, far from rolling over in the face of superior technology, were proving to be far more resourceful and dangerous than the Empire had ever anticipated. The Empire's commanders, growing impatient, decided to escalate. They sent larger forces, deploying more advanced weapons, confident that this would finally bring humanity to its knees. They couldn't comprehend how a species with such primitive technology had managed to hold off their fleet for this long. The orders were clear: crush the resistance, and take the planet. But the humans weren't fighting a conventional war. They had no interest in meeting the Empire head-on. Instead, they exploited the one advantage they had: ingenuity. Earth's scientists and engineers, working in hidden labs and underground facilities, developed weapons and tactics that the Empire couldn't predict. Using their understanding of the alien technology from downed ships, they crafted countermeasures that leveled the playing field in unexpected ways. Human hackers, scattered across the globe, breached the Empire's communications and defense systems. They rerouted signals, interfered with targeting systems, and sabotaged operations from within. Every step the Empire took forward, the humans disrupted, causing confusion and delays. In space, the humans adapted their outdated spacecraft, using speed and maneuverability to their advantage. While the Empire's ships were far more powerful, they were also rigid in their tactics. The humans employed hit-and-run attacks, never staying in one place long enough for the Empire to retaliate. They used the Moon, asteroids, and Earth's atmosphere itself to stage ambushes and surprise strikes. Time and time again, they inflicted damage far beyond what the Empire had expected from such a backward species. A turning point came during one of the larger skirmishes. Earth's forces, having studied the patterns of the Empire's fleet, set a trap. Using decoys and false signals, they lured a key Imperial battleship into a vulnerable position. Then, in a coordinated strike, they overwhelmed its defenses, destroying the ship in a blaze of light. The loss was catastrophic for the Empire, not just in terms of resources, but in morale. For the first time, the Empire felt something it hadn't experienced in centuries: doubt. Their forces were taking losses, and worse, they were losing the psychological edge. The humans were relentless, unpredictable, and most infuriatingly, they seemed to be learning. Every failed attack from the Empire was met with a more refined, more efficient response from Earth's forces. The Empire's arrogance was beginning to show cracks. In their minds, Earth had been a minor target, a planet to be subdued with minimal effort. Now, they were facing an enemy that refused to break. Their soldiers, trained to expect swift victories, were starting to lose faith in their leadership. They had never seen such resistance from a species so technologically outmatched. On Earth, the victories, though hard-fought, were boosting morale. Every Imperial ship brought down was a symbol of hope. People started to believe that survival was possible, even in the face of such overwhelming odds. The human spirit, resilient and unyielding, had become the greatest weapon against the Empire. The war had changed. What the Empire had once seen as a routine conquest was now a grinding conflict, with no end in sight. The humans were forcing them into a position they weren't accustomed to, one where brute force wasn't enough to guarantee success. It was a war not just of weapons, but of wits, and the humans were playing a game the Empire didn't know how to win. And the Empire, once so sure of its dominance, was beginning to realize that they might not win at all. After weeks of conflict, the situation had reached a critical point. The Galactic Empire, bruised by a series of unexpected defeats, was growing desperate. Their commanders had been humiliated, their ships damaged, and yet, the humans continued to resist. What had started as a routine conquest had turned into an extended campaign that was draining resources and patience. The Empire, for all its might, was beginning to question whether Earth was worth the effort. It was in this moment of growing frustration that a message was sent from Earth. Unlike the Empire's cold, calculated broadcasts, this one carried a weight of finality. The human representative, now known across the galaxy for their defiance, issued a warning: leave Earth, or face consequences you cannot imagine. The transmission was short, clear, and unwavering. There was no plea for peace, no attempt to negotiate. It was a declaration, a final stand. The message made it clear: Earth was done playing defense. If the Empire didn't back down, humanity would take the fight to them, using every tool at their disposal. The Empire's leadership, watching from their distant capital, was furious. How could a species they had dismissed as primitive issue such a bold ultimatum? It was an insult to their power, their authority. The Empire had never been challenged like this, especially not by a species so far beneath them. Yet, behind the fury, there was fear. The humans had proven to be unpredictable, their resilience and adaptability far beyond what the Empire had anticipated. They had learned to disrupt Imperial systems, sabotage operations, and exploit weaknesses in ways that even the most advanced species in the galaxy hadn't managed. The thought of what these humans could do if they fully turned their attention to offense was unsettling. But the Empire's pride would not allow them to admit defeat. Instead, they responded with one final threat: "You will regret this. We will erase your planet from existence." The human response came quickly, calm and unshaken: "Try." The word reverberated through the halls of the Empire's command ships, and for the first time, their leaders found themselves at a loss. Humanity had not only defied them, they had made it clear that they were willing to fight until the end, no matter the cost. And the more the Empire pressed, the more they risked drawing attention from other galactic powers. Powers that might begin to see Earth as a potential ally, rather than a forgotten backwater. Earth had shown the galaxy that it would not be conquered easily. The message was spreading, not just through the Empire's ranks, but across other worlds. Humanity had done what few others had managed: they had made the Galactic Empire hesitate. The human warning was more than just a defiant statement. It was a promise that if the Empire continued its aggression, they would face a battle far greater than they had anticipated. And the Empire, for all its arrogance, was beginning to realize that this might be a battle they couldn't win. The ultimatum hung in the air, and for the first time in centuries, the Empire found itself weighing the cost of continuing a war. They had faced resistance before, but never like this. Earth was no longer just a planet to be conquered, it had become a symbol of resistance, one that could inspire others. In that moment, the Empire understood that pressing forward could have consequences far beyond a single world. And the humans, defiant and unbroken, stood ready to face whatever came next. The Galactic Empire, now at the tipping point of pride and practicality, was forced to face an unsettling reality. They had never considered the possibility of retreating from a conquest, especially not from a planet as insignificant in their eyes as Earth. But every tactical analysis, every report from the front lines, painted the same picture: further aggression could lead to a protracted conflict, one that would drain the Empire's resources and possibly inspire other species to revolt. The human message had been clear: they weren't simply defending their planet anymore. They were prepared to escalate the conflict, and the Empire knew that humanity's unpredictability made them a dangerous foe. What the Empire had dismissed as primitive was now their greatest threat: human ingenuity, resilience, and, most importantly, their willingness to sacrifice everything for their freedom. Inside the Empire's War Council, debates raged. High-ranking officials, who had initially scoffed at the idea of negotiating with humans, now considered it. The risk of other planets observing this drawn-out conflict and seeing the cracks in the Empire's power was becoming too great. The humans had done the unthinkable: they had forced the galaxy's most dominant force to rethink its approach. While the Empire hesitated, Earth moved with purpose. The human forces, emboldened by their victories, began to push back even harder. They hacked deeper into the Empire's systems, spreading disinformation and chaos among the invaders. They targeted supply lines, disrupted communications, and launched coordinated strikes on key installations. Every move the humans made was precise, calculated, and executed with ruthless efficiency. The Empire was no longer the hunter, it had become the prey. But what truly unnerved the Empire was the solidarity of the human race. No matter how much destruction they rained down, no matter the casualties, Earth's people remained united. This was something the Empire couldn't understand. They had conquered countless worlds where resistance crumbled under fear and oppression, but humanity's collective spirit only grew stronger under the pressure. It was a phenomenon the Empire hadn't accounted for in their strategies: a species that refused to bend or break, no matter the cost. As the battles raged on, a growing number of Imperial officers began to question their mission. Whispers of discontent spread through the ranks. Could they really subdue a species this determined without destroying themselves in the process? Some suggested retreat, others called for more drastic measures, but all of them understood one truth: Earth had become a symbol of defiance that was reverberating across the galaxy. The final turning point came when the Empire received a transmission not from Earth, but from one of its own. An Imperial admiral, disillusioned by the endless war and inspired by humanity's courage, defected. They broadcast a message throughout the galaxy, revealing the Empire's vulnerabilities and urging other species to rise up. It was the first time in centuries that the Empire had been openly betrayed from within. For Earth, the message was a victory without a single shot fired. The cracks in the Empire's armor were growing too large to ignore. The balance of power was shifting, and the humans had forced the mighty Galactic Empire into a position they had never been in before, on the defensive. In the end, the Empire, bruised and humiliated, made the only logical choice left. They pulled their fleets back, retreating from Earth's orbit. The war, which had seemed inevitable, was over. The Empire had lost, not in the traditional sense, but in a way that was far more damaging. They had been outwitted, outlasted, and outclassed by a species they had considered beneath them. Earth, battered but unbroken, stood victorious. The human race had shown the galaxy that they were not to be trifled with, that they would fight for their survival with everything they had. The message was clear: humanity would not be conquered. And as the Empire retreated, they knew that this defeat would echo far beyond Earth. It would ripple through the stars, sending a clear signal to every world they had subjugated: resistance was not futile. Victory was possible. The humans had done the impossible. They had made the Galactic Empire retreat.